Welcome to another day in the Matrix and happy holidays to the Wolfpack. I know it's a very busy time of year, so I appreciate you showing up to Red Pill Podcast 195. We have a lot to cover today, so we're just going to get straight into it. But first, I have a very important update. Some of you might have already received this notification and have gone through the necessary steps to prepare for our upcoming Discord server upgrade and scheduled maintenance, which will be happening tomorrow, December 23rd at 11 a.m. Eastern Time Zone. So what you'll need to do right now, using your laptop or desktop computer and not your Patreon mobile app, because this will not work using the Patreon phone app. So while you're using your laptop or desktop computer, go ahead and pause this podcast now and then watch this quick tutorial video. Shout out to our moderator, Clementine, for making this video for us. She really helped out by putting this together. It's an excellent presentation. It's only about 1 minute long. And if you use your laptop or desktop computer, as I just mentioned, it'll only take you about 30 seconds of watching the first half of this video, and you'll likely complete this whole process in just 1 minute total. Also, please do not comment below in this post if you're having trouble with this process, because the comment section of this Red Pill podcast is what we use as our voting system for the altcoins I'll cover on the next week's Red Pill podcast. So please do not get impatient and start commenting here if you're having any issues with this process. Instead, take a deep breath, relax, and I can assure you everything regarding this process is covered in this quick video tutorial and the included post written below. So please just take the next minute to pause this Red Pill podcast right now, go to this pinned Patreon post shown here, and then complete the task explained in this quick tutorial video. It'll only take you about a minute, and then you could come back here when you're done. All right, so thank you so much for taking a moment to do that. And if you're confused at all during this, and it's likely you've run into one or two problems. Either one, you're likely using the Patreon mobile app, which, like I mentioned a moment ago, that won't work. If you're using mobile, you'll need to do it on your web browser. Now, common problem number two, if you're still trying to do this process on a mobile phone using your web browser and it's glitching or the page isn't loading for whatever reason, again, just do the process on a laptop or desktop computer. I'd assume if you're in cryptocurrency, the odds are you have one. And it'll likely be so much easier if you do it there after logging into your Patreon account and Discord account on your computer's browser and following the instructions in the first 30 seconds of this video. It's just a couple clicks, and doing this ensures you'll continue to have Discord access once our scheduled maintenance is complete. Now, let me quickly read through what's going on regarding this upcoming Discord upgrade and server maintenance that's going live tomorrow. But first, you can go ahead and take that action that's shared in this video right now. You can do it immediately. Now, let me just quickly run through this. As I've already said, this process cannot be done on a Patreon app. Please use your desktop or laptop. Then just run through all this information. To retain your Discord server access, you must connect your Patreon account to Discord. Watch the linked video and complete this task before the deadline, which is December 24th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. This was our ideal schedule because we wanted to get it done before Christmas time, definitely before the end of the year for the entire process. And this is the first phase. So we will be going into scheduled maintenance effectively between tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on December 23rd through around 11 a.m. Eastern Time on December 24th. Just that 1 day time frame is really important for us to build out what we've been working on in the background and to start things fresh. So the Waters Above Discord server will be locked down for scheduled maintenance, meaning you will temporarily lose access to our Discord channels during that time frame of our scheduled maintenance. Why? After almost 4 years, believe it or not, we're finally upgrading our server to make it the most user-friendly experience for our community, and this is just the start of great things to come. And one of the big problems we were having was getting people linked into the Discord. It's causing a headache with going back and forth with people quite a bit. I also use quite a bit of time at the beginning of every red pill explaining the instructions, and not everyone gets it. And we have a comment section that gets bogged down with people asking for Discord access. So that's one big thing that it's going to get out of the way. It will make that more automated, more streamlined, and a lot more user-friendly. Then, when getting inside of our Discord, there will be a lot more information regarding what's going on in there. There'll be a new welcome page, new server rules, information about things that happen that are negative that come around once in a while, such as scammers who are pretending to be me, who send out friend requests and try to DM you. So we're going to try to clean up all the dirty laundry and have a much cleaner outline for what's going on, better descriptions for what each text channel will be, and just a lot more upgrades in general. So it's important that we lock down our server during that time. And in order for us to complete this Discord server upgrade, we need all members here to take the action required to retain Discord access, or else you will lose Discord server access after December 24th at 11 a.m. That is when our scheduled maintenance is officially complete. So it's better for you to just do this process now, and then you don't have to think about it at all. Also, please do not message or tag me regarding the scheduled maintenance. Please do not email the customer support, and please do not comment in other Patreon posts regarding the scheduled maintenance, because all the important information is included in this video within this post as well. And I'm also covering it here again personally with you after Clementine made the video. And then I'll have another update coming out tomorrow too. Very, very important. Do not comment about this because it is so simple and there should not be any problems. And if there is any problems, it's likely just due to you not following the instructions. Okay. So tomorrow I'll share another update, December 23rd, right before our Discord scheduled maintenance goes live at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, appreciate you taking the necessary actions to ensure this process goes smoothly for our community. And let's get into our red pill. Let me just make sure that I have everything covered. I mentioned moments ago, this maintenance period will be starting tomorrow. Just running through my notes. Our moderator and I will be upgrading our Discord server and implementing a new system moving forward. So you'll need to do this step before December 24th at 11 a.m. in order to continue to have access to our Discord server. And lastly, if you just joined our community, this is important. If you've just joined now, I will not be sending out any Discord server invites until our Discord upgrade and server maintenance is completed. So after December 24th at 11 a.m. Eastern time is when I'll be onboarding any new members who've yet to gain access to our Discord server from now until then. So for those new members who just joined our community, first off, welcome. It is so great to have you with us, and I appreciate your patience and understanding during this process. It's rare. This is, again, our first major update in almost 4 years, but it was necessary. It is very necessary. And the great news is you'll be joining our Discord after the cleanup, and it'll look much more user-friendly. It'll be a much higher quality experience overall. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this, and I'll be sharing another post here in the next 24 hours to let you know when our server is officially going into lockdown and our scheduled maintenance. During that time frame, again, you'll lose access to the text channels temporarily. So no worries. The new system will be up and running as soon as possible, and we'll be back on track and better than ever. So I hope that this time I just took really answers all the frequently asked questions. And again, please do not comment about this because we don't need that. This is like 3 clicks. Please. We already have enough customer service stuff to deal with right now with the holidays and everything else going on. So again, if there's any issues you're having with this process, it's likely because you messed up a step that's covered in the tutorial video, and I pretty much thoroughly went through everything right now. Use a computer, use a laptop, log into your Patreon account on the desktop or the laptop, log into your Discord there as well, and it will be 2 to 3 clicks. That's all. And also, just one last update. For those that have my decoding mastermind, I also have launched the new Trinity Masterclass. So that's something that I've been really excited to share with everyone, and I've been working overtime, and it's officially complete. So my Christmas gift to everyone who's invested in this decoding mastermind in the past. And there's people who got it back, pretty much when it came out, the day of. So this was a huge update for me. I'm really proud of the quality and the visuals and how unique the content is regarding this decoding mastermind's new module. So, yep, Trinity Master class is officially out. It has been added to the decoding mastermind. So if you've already invested in this course in the past, there's no further action needed. All you'll need to do is go over to my website, watersabove.com, and then log into your account, just right top right corner, and then go over to the programs tab after you log in, and you'll see the course there. And at the bottom of the decoding mastermind, you'll see a new section added called the Trinity Masterclass. And that's it. Enjoy. I am really looking forward to your feedback. I've worked really hard on this, so just wanted to let you know about that. And for whatever reason, if you're having any issues accessing your course, just click here to the frequently asked questions tab right at the top of my website, and it'll give you a short video explaining how to regain access to your course that you've purchased in the past. And for anyone who's interested in picking up a course during this holiday season, if you missed out on Black Friday, no worries. I'm currently running a holiday sale here for our mastermind community that's an even bigger discount than the one that's available to the public. So if you're interested in taking advantage of this holiday sale, you can go over to watersabove.com/store, and you can use the promo code 25MMX at checkout. And that'll also be written in the description of this video and in the pinned comment below. And if you wanted to gift someone a course, which I've been getting some people reaching out to me for that for this holiday season, you're welcome to do that. Since all of my courses are a one-time payment for lifetime access, all you'll need to do is purchase the course for them and then give them access to the login details with a temporary password, and then they're welcome to reset the password as they wish. That's the easiest way to do this process right now, and I greatly appreciate your support. It really means the world to me, especially if you're gifting it to somebody, because that means that you're spreading the word, and I'm just super grateful. But more so, this update was to just let you all know that that hard work that I've put into the Trinity Masterclass, it's officially out there, and I promised you I would add it to that course for free at no additional charge, and it's there. It's good to go, and enjoy. And perhaps you could use this scheduled maintenance time frame for our Discord to study the course materials. You'd be surprised how much knowledge you can absorb in a single day. But anyways, let's get into today's red pill. Big things coming for Waters Above. I'm really excited. Lots of changes, but they're all for the better. So to kick things off, I thought it'd be classic to bring up this gem about the U.S. Congress passing a government funding bill to keep the government from shutting down and to keep it operating until, guess when? March 14th. So literally on the total lunar eclipse that I've been talking about all year. It's absolutely hilarious to me. Like, anyone who's in our community, when you saw this date, you just probably bursted out laughing because you were like, simulation confirmed. Like, this shit didn't phase you, but 99% of humanity, they have no idea. No idea. Literally the exoteric Pi Day total lunar eclipse. Crazy. So we'll see how this pans out. It's 3 months away, so plenty can change between now and then, especially after Trump's inauguration, which, speaking of, is about a month out from today. And I expect this next month to be absolutely wild, just like the past month was. And that's what the final phase of a solar cycle is like, not just for the crypto market, but the world stage as a whole. And the lunar cycle itself is when the real craziness goes down. So if you think it's been wild over the past month or during this solar cycle, which effectively kicked off in April of 2023, well, get ready for 2025 because it's going to be spicy. You better start training your taste buds because these psyops are going to be flying at you like 50 caliber sniper rounds, like ghost chilies all day. It's going to be wild. But with that being said, that's why I'm so grateful for what we're doing here in this community. It's truly a gem what we have going on. I'm truly grateful for what we're doing here because it's so rare, We're calm throughout all of this chaos, and whenever we see these dates or whenever we see these things that go down, it's just another day in the matrix. So at least that's how I've been feeling over the past 3 to 4 years, ever since I found out and started actually implementing gematria, numerology, and astrology with my work. That being in the know of it is one thing, but then using it is another, right? So it's one thing to buy skis and a snowboard. It's another thing to actually hit the slopes. And that's what this past 3 to 4 years has been like for me. Using it live and actually like being accountable in the public eye along the way has really refined my investment thesis. And it's also just refined my attitude and my energy about the quote unquote future. So I hope that resonates with people right now, because we're in a very chaotic time, and anyone can clip this from like 2 or 3 Red Pill podcasts ago. You remember me starting off a Red Pill podcast saying that like we had a little flash correction over a weekend, and like it was creating chaos for people. I forgot which day it was, but you remember me doing this where I said like, this is just what we've entered. Like this is the time in the market that it's going to be like this, like big swings, and it's going to create a lot of confusion. So, I mean, you really need to get to a place in this market where you're a little bit more stoic, where you're not as emotional. And really the only people that are getting flustered right now are the ones that have just joined, like over the past couple weeks. But remember, we've been tracking this whole thing since we were at the bottom of the last, we tracked it all through the last bear market. So those of you that are new to the community, it's okay. Like if you're feeling confused, you're feeling like there's so much information here, that's fine. But some of the warnings that I've given about just being a little bit cautious because you're buying high, right? You're buying pretty high right now. And the only reason to be buying right now is if you have zero exposure. But when you buy at these levels, it feels so much more painful when you get a correction than when you're buying when you're really oversold and you know how to actually navigate a market. So I feel for you because I was there too. I watched the C19 crash happen in front of my eyes. Like, I remember this. I remember this shit right there. Okay? Like, it was crazy. I remember the SEC Ripple case. I was recording it in a mastermind, the crypto mastermind, excuse me. Sorry, I have a lot of things on my mind right now, but in my crypto mastermind course, during the December, it was like late December 2020, SEC case hit, major flash crash in XRP. And I just remember like being giddy about it, like really excited because XRP was like 17 or 18 cents. Like, look at it today, it's $2. Like, but at the time when it was 17 cents, I remember just being like, whoa, most people are not going to be able to handle this moment. There's so much capitulation. Lots of like the exchanges started delisting it everywhere. It was historic. It was a wild moment. So now that I've lived through that, it's pretty funny now that like XRP goes to 290 and then it's closed goes to 217 and now it's 220 and people think it's like the end of the world. It's like, it's probably because they recently bought into this market. So I hope you appreciate what I'm sharing right now. It's not to feel any shame or guilt. That's not it. It's just to be vulnerable. I think everyone should be very vulnerable right now with what you're feeling. Share it with the community. And there's likely people that have a lot of skin in the game that could help, be very helpful. So at this point, it's very important for us to address what went down in the market this week, although I did put out a warning video in advance regarding an expected correction for mid-December, which has been pretty much a follow-up from videos that I've released as far back as like 6 months ago, tied to the decodes I did for the year of 1964. So that was the year of the Chinese wood dragon, just like we're in the year of the wood dragon here in 2024. And some of you might remember my full-length presentation titled Black Moon Decoded, which was released on November 1st. Let's see that right there. 1st of November, 2024. This was effectively 5 days before the US election results came in. Bitcoin was trading around 70,000. I believe it closed the daily candle on November 1st at 69K. And you'll see around the 41-minute mark of this decode, I mentioned November 15th right here through December 15th. And although it's a little scattered around, it's because it's 40 minutes deep into this decode where I built a bunch of foundation and then I started like tying all the pieces together. But effectively during this point, I start pointing out all the things and then I'm labeling it bullish, as you can see. So this was in regards to the final Mercury retrograde of the year, as well as passing through the full moon in Taurus, which is the bull. I wrote bullish next to this. That was November 15th. And all the way up until December 15th, I wrote bullish. And then when we go to the 34-minute mark, you're going to see some information about when the sun is moving into the sign of Ophiuchus, the 13th sign in sidereal astrology, between November 29th and December 17th. And that's pretty wild because that's the first day of Saturnalia. And interestingly enough, as of right now, that's the local top for Bitcoin. Literally, December 17th, 108K. And it's technically our highest daily close so far at 106K. So the fact it panned out that way and then we immediately corrected from that date is definitely sketchy, especially since that was the all-time high date back in 2017. If I go back here to this cycle right there, the all-time high was December 17th, the first day of Saturnalia. Very sketchy. And if you have my crypto decoding blueprint, then you know that Satoshi is Saturn. That's Father Time, Father Blockchain, God of Cycles. Then during this decode, I spoke about specifically the year of 1964 around the 43-minute mark, because I brought that up at the beginning of this. You can see here, 1964, year of the, excuse me, that's a typo. It should be Wood Dragon. Apologies. But 1964, the second line here, I say the election, I'll kind of just read it out real quick. This chart is effectively pointing to this same time frame that I was analyzing, which had to do with December. I said this was the last year of the Wood Dragon, like we're in now. Apologies for that typo. Around the election, we were flat, and then we even peaked into November 20th. So we actually did go up after the election, which is not normal. We usually correct into the election and through the election, but in 1964, we went up after it, just like we did now in 2024. And then I said, then after the 20th of November, we had a healthy correction into the December full moon, pivoting around December 15th. So we were bearish around right there. That was mid-December, which is also clearly the case this time around. Also in the exact same Chinese year, the year of the Wood Dragon. So this is clearly affecting Bitcoin as well. But remember when I made this analysis and all the videos that I made around this time frame, which go back to October, even some stuff in September, where I was pointing out to anticipate what could happen in mid-December, because we were likely just to continue up and then get a correction in mid-December. That was for the stock market. And then whenever I had to talk about the crypto market, I would preface it with the stock market information. And then I would say, but crypto will probably be higher than where it is today. So all throughout September, October, November, I was saying that if we are to get a correction in mid-December, we'll just be higher than when I'm filming this anyways. And that's also still the case. Now, this isn't a flex. This isn't trying to say I was right. That I don't give a fuck about that at all right now. Because anyone that's been following along this knows. You know what's up. The point of me bringing this up, though, is because a lot of people just joined over the last month. A lot of people are just getting into this game. So it's important to bring this up, and perhaps some people do forget, which is fine. But we're tracking this, and we've been tracking it all year. And it's pretty wild to watch this correction we're getting right now, specifically for the stock market, and to see how it's influencing the crypto market. Now, of course, there's the exoteric event of the FOMC meeting, and then we don't have another FOMC meeting until the end of January, which is Chinese New Year. That'll be the end of the Wood Dragon year, moving into the Snake year. But let's continue recapping what I was doing here in this Black Moon Decoded. Around the 56-minute mark, the when BTC 100K joke. But really, it's Everyone's like, when moon? So I dedicated this slide to this because I wanted to answer this seriously when I thought Bitcoin would hit 100K. And remember, this was filmed on November 1st, so that means I was preparing this video in the last couple days of October before I officially filmed it and released it. So Bitcoin was closing daily candles around 67, 68K when I made this. And then it was released 5 days before the election that Trump won, and at 69,000 on November 5th. And I said, although it's probably best to stay conservative and say if all goes according to plan, and what I meant by plan was everything that I talked about in this video up until this point, we can very well see 100K Bitcoin before the end of 2024. Remember, Bitcoin was trading at 69K when I made this. And I also said, and likely before Chinese New Year, January 29th, 2025, the start of the Year of the Snake, which I just mentioned a moment ago. And then a little over a month after I shared this decode here for our mastermind community, Bitcoin, of course, has officially hit 100K before the end of the year. And now we're trading into the very final days of the end of the year. And we've also closed a couple of daily candles above 100K, which is great to see. I'm actually kind of more excited that we aren't just raging to the upside, because when Bitcoin does this stall out phase and then rotates, that's actually like a gift. Like, and I'm not just doing this to like gas people up. Like, I fucking study these cycles. So I know, like, when we get moments like this, especially when it's tied to an event, like an FOMC meeting or something with war or something with whatever, SEC, or it's always orchestrated. It's always orchestrated. So it's done on purpose, and it's to shake out investors. So now we need to get to the second half of what this is all about, and it has to do with the last couple red pills I've released. So very, very recent content. And I did mention the 51st week of the year a bunch of times. We all know this, and how it's very significant. Well, Bitcoin did technically hit its current all-time high during the 51st week of the year on the 17th. So we had the 51st week of the year from December 16th through the 22nd, which is today. But of course, now we're experiencing a serious correction that's shaking up a lot of investors, especially new investors that just started piling in after Bitcoin hit 100K milestone, and after XRP and the other ISO 222 projects have gained at least 400% in the last month. So now everyone wants to know what's going on. Well, interestingly enough, in the same presentation, the Black Moon Decoded, around the 53-minute mark, I share this chart right here, which I think is very important for us to review. It was a Wyckoff reaccumulation schematic pointing to where we are now as I was filming that video and showing where we're going. And I said right there in the bottom right of the slide, currently moving into the SOS phase. SOS stands for sign of strength. And you can see that would be in alignment with Bitcoin breaking to 100,000, which we were anticipating. But then I want you to notice what comes after the SOS. And you'll see it. It's this LPS. It stands for last point of support. Now, this is one of the most elusive moves for the whole reaccumulation phase, because as we're breaking out into price discovery right there, it feels so amazing. And then you get blindsided by this pullback only shortly after you start breaking out into new all-time highs. And for me, that's exactly what we're doing right now, I feel. And I do not think we're moving into a Wyckoff distribution, which perhaps some people have started to bring up. If you follow any other people who are Wyckoff traders, some people are already starting to move into that vibe. I am not. I think we're in an LPS after an SOS in this reaccumulation with spring pattern. And this move right here, the spring we got, was back in August. It is a nearly identical schematic to what we've done. And the way that we moved into this whole thing, which was the example number 3, this was more macro. Like, we're talking months, 8 months of trading on top of the prior cycle's double top. It's identical. So look at this right there. You following my cursor? Boom, 108K. Boom, what we're doing right now. Now the thing is do we return all the way back down to the top of phase C? That would be devastating. That would be very tough. That would be a return back to 73K. And that's something that I don't want to scare people right now, because we just spent 8 months trading on top of the prior cycle's resistance and confirmed it as a support. And we haven't actually had a very dramatic breakout since. Considering that in past cycles, and we talked about this and tracked this as well, Bitcoin usually goes up 100 to 110% on its initial surge into price discovery, and so far has not done that. In order for it to complete that, it would have had to have moved to like 130 to 150K. So we're not even overbought right now at all. I mean, altcoins are, some of them for sure, but not Bitcoin. So I'm not trying to make an argument for the ultra bull case, and I am also being as clear and as real with you all as possible that there is a very bearish case, and that could probably still not be that bearish. And that would have to do with something we also brought up about the CME chart. Again, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but you see that CME gap here between 78 to 80. It's a thing. It's a possibility. But remember, over here, we've left gaps behind in the past, and we left them behind at similar moments right before a crazy breakout. Look at this right here. This was during the March Black Swan in 2023. Silicon Valley Bank, Silvergate Bank. We had issues with Credit Suisse. That was that. And then Bitcoin just shot up from that. And we never filled that gap since. Also right here, we had the same shit happen. This was during Rosh Hashanah, effectively. We had this micro crown top distribution. I remember this vividly. And then when we keeled over right here, everyone, I promise you, every YouTuber at the time, everyone, and I didn't have a YouTube channel active just yet. I was creating my Crypto Mastermind course, and I was working with private clients, just being 100% vulnerable to you guys. So this moment right here, I remember vividly watching some people on YouTube screaming that we're going to break to like COVID C19 lows, back to 4K. Some people thought we would even go lower, but it ended up being a bear trap and what I was calling a backup phase in Wyckoff. So this was our backup phase, kind of right there. And then we broke out into, this is like a more textbook sign of strength if I was to look at this chart right here. But this is very much looking at things from different vantage points. I don't want to confuse anyone, because this was the most local and recent analysis I've given on my outlook for the end of the year. And we're so far playing that out. And now we're in this moment right here, moving from SOS to LPS. And the depth of the LPS in this particular schematic is not nearly as deep. And it could very well be in alignment with what we've just recently done. And I have something to show you that could be kind of exposing that. So I do personally feel that this is exactly what we're doing right now. And I don't think we're moving into a Wyckoff distribution. Could I be wrong? Well, anything's possible in the matrix. But remember what I said after the election on November 6th, when Bitcoin started to break out into price discovery. I said in literally everything I posted and everything that I was featured on during that week, including interviews, podcasts that I joined, I said, I don't really feel good about this right now. And I'm talking about the initial breakout that we had in early November. I don't like when everyone is all of a sudden euphoric and happy. And it gives me this too good to be true vibe. I mean, I said it like 1,000 times. And I said it, that concerns me. And this is why I've been keeping calm all throughout this move for Bitcoin as we've broken out, and also for the altcoins, because when everyone's getting happy and excited and we flip to extreme greed too quickly in the markets, that's the exact moment the market maker orchestrates what we've been experiencing over this past week. Essentially, it's a micro bull trap. We had the Hawk Tua girl, meme coin rug pull, MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, buying frenzy. I mean, just everyone started coming out of the woodwork, making bold claims, and meanwhile, these same people were silent during the whole bear market. So it's people showing up out of nowhere talking about going to the moon. And that's all a sign that we're going to have something weird happen. And I believe that's exactly what this is. So that's actually why I released this YouTube video right here called Prepare for This the week before this all went down. I believe this was posted on the 11th of December. Because if you watched that video, you know I was explaining that during this exact phase in the bull run we're in now, we see Bitcoin stall out while Bitcoin dominance starts to recover after a big, kind of liquidity rebalancing. And that equals a noticeable correction for the altcoins when Bitcoin does this. And that's what happened in the last cycle in late 2020 at the exact same time frame we're in now, leading into Christmas week in 2020, moving into 2021. And the final 5 days or so of 2020 were a recovery. So I just want to bring that up because now it doesn't need to go that way exactly this time. And it's important I say that because there was a fractal that we were watching out for right here. This fractal for the Thanksgiving week in late November 2020, that is no longer applicable since the recent correction we've had. But I kind of am thinking now, maybe it actually still is though. And regarding what we're about to get into, please do not take this as a pushing the goalpost sort of situation because that's not what it is. The overall outlook is still all the way until March, and we're in the end of December. So take things into context here. It's very important. So what I showed you regarding the decode is proof that I released this at the beginning of November, almost 2 months ago, stating that I expect Bitcoin to hit 100K before the end of 2024. This decode didn't make any bold claims like 200K by the first week of January. It didn't say 150K by the first week of January. It said 100K before the end of the year. And I use the word conservatively on purpose. And why did I do that? Well, because we just had a euphoric post-election kind of vibe. But at the time, I was feeling everyone was super negative. There was so much negativity, and it almost feels like what we've just watched transpire between November 6th and just a couple days ago, the start of Saturnalia. It's a complete energy rebalancing. Everyone that was stoked about Trump, now they're confused and they think it's like a bear market. And all of that investment thesis is gone and washed away now. You understand what I mean by this? So what I did here for fun, but very well could be practical, is I essentially moved this fractal over to match this V-shape correction happening now. Since the way Bitcoin recently moved up from November 11th, right here, through December 17th is actually very reminiscent of the 2020 fractal. And the depth of this current correction is actually much more like the Thanksgiving week correction we got back in 2020 when all things are considered. Although, to be 100% honest with you all, I wouldn't be banking on fractals at this point because at the end of the day, fractal analysis is very experimental from real technical analysis. So it shouldn't be the main element of your TA or even secondary or tertiary. It's supposed to be experimental. And sometimes you'll see some uncanny connections when doing fractal analysis for sure, but it's not something worth banking on. And I know right now this crypto market looks really ugly. So the fact that it's happening as I'm recording this, just remember, we have the Chicago Mercantile Exchange closed. We have the stock market closed. We'll have the stock market reopening tomorrow, along with precious metals and Forex. And tonight, in a little bit, we're going to have CME open. And when CME opens up, this is something you'll realize is we have quite a gap ahead of us, and we're overly exaggerated on this sell-off right now. Remember, this is just retail traders playing with leverage. This is not institutional players at all. You know what institutions like to do? They want to accumulate Bitcoin right now. It's obvious. They want to accumulate all of these coins. So this forced sell-off, I feel, is very orchestrated. But again, maybe I'm wrong this time. And if that's the case, I will come out here and I will let you all know. But so far, we really need to see how this Christmas week transpires because this is pretty much in alignment with what happened at the end of 2020. And we're about at the same phase as we speak. Now, this is the reason I didn't personally invest during Thanksgiving week this year, and I waited until mid-December instead, which is, again, a call that I made over 6 months ago during the year of the dragon analysis, specifically focused on what the final phase of the solar cycle would be like. So that was everything from October 2024 through March 2025. So I did go ahead and make a couple of speculative venture capital investments during this week, which again was in alignment with that mid-December correction around the December full moon for the stock market, which ended up impacting the crypto market. So I'm glad that I held off on Thanksgiving time. But I didn't do anything crazy, just some small final allocations added to my portfolio. And if we happen to continue down a little more through this upcoming holiday, then I'll reassess the charts and see if there's opportunities or if there's something more nefarious on the horizon that is unexpected, such as a black swan. But with that being said, before we get into the charts, I want to show you something that's happened with Dogecoin in every past bull cycle. And just this week, we did it again, 3 cycles in a row. And I think you guys will really appreciate this. So I think Dogecoin is also a great example because it's one of the few altcoins that has trading history going all the way back to late 2013. So it has even more chart history than Ethereum. And Ethereum has only experienced 1 complete cycle. I guess technically you could say like 1.5 cycles because of where it started trading in comparison to Bitcoin, right? Whilst Dogecoin has 2 complete cycles, as you can see here, and technically 3 full bear markets. So this is, I think, a more reliable altcoin to do macro TA on than probably anything. Doge has completed 2 full cycles, hitting the macro 1618 fib both times, and being in price discovery the whole time, by the way. So not even XRP has done that because it missed out on the 2021 alt season. Again, blamed on the SEC versus Ripple case, but it is what it is. Anyways, this isn't about making a comparison of projects because that's not the point here. What I wanted to show you was how in every past cycle, when Dogecoin broke into this golden pocket territory between the 618 and 786 fib levels, after it started to momentarily trade above the golden pocket, it then came and back tested the 618. So we can see this in September of 2017, right here. Look at that. Tail to the downside. So just wicked down, got bought back up. We could also see this in our last cycle right here. Wicked down, got bought back up. And then this was a pretty arduous kind of sideways moment. It's the same thing over here. It was not the most fun. Although this was recovering a lot nicer. I suspect the reason why is because we were overextended before a crazy correction. 83% correction in the midst of a fucking bull run. You know, if you think what just happened recently is mind-blowing to you, imagine living through that. 83%. That's like what Bitcoin did in the whole bear market of 2019. Dogecoin did that in the middle of a bull run. Like literally, on its way up to doing an almost 10,000% move, it had an 80% correction in the middle. You have to have balls of steel to deal with that, right? Here it was like a lot smoother, but we still hit this 618 level. So I'm bringing this up because what's also important about what's happening here is that this same move right there and right there, it always happened after the 4th solar eclipse of Bitcoin's solar cycle. So it has a relationship to the crypto market solar and lunar cycles as well, clearly. Now here in 2024, we're of course past the 4th solar eclipse of our solar cycle, and we've had all of these conditions met. All of them. We've had the breakout into the golden pocket. We've momentarily traded above the golden pocket, and then we had this flash correction into the 161 or into the 618 fib, the bottom of the golden pocket. Now, the 4th confirmation we're yet to experience is that in all the past examples, Doge never closed a daily candle below the 618. So keep that in mind, because if for whatever reason we do get a black swan and Doge starts closing daily candles below the 618, then it would invalidate this pattern technically. But we could reassess if that turns out to be the case, because we could look into a couple other indicators such as RSI to see if we're dramatically oversold, for instance. That's always an opportunity, especially when there's serious blood in the streets. Because if you get invalidations on stuff, but you're back testing important levels, such as this fractal over here, and you're very oversold on the RSI, even on like just the 12-hour time frame, could be an opportunity. You know, I mean, it's a gift. Again, if I was speaking this to you back here, you would think I sound like a maniac. But then look, after this correction, Doge went on to go up another 2,500% after an 80% pullback in the midst of the bull run. That's craziness, right, guys? Like, so I'm not making this stuff up. This is just kind of the way that crypto goes. It's amazing. It's actually quite amazing how volatile it is. So let's assume this turns out to follow the pattern as it has since 2017. And this is the next thing that I think is really fascinating. I'm going to pull from this flash correction over here to the top, the cycle peak, and you're going to see it's 114 days. I'm going to do the same thing for this cycle over here. I'm going to go from the day that we flash corrected into the golden pocket, bottom of the golden pocket, and then to the top. Would you look at that? 116 days. Both of these examples in separate bull cycles are within a 2-day window of each other, 48 hours apart. How mind-blowing is that? So using this data, although limited, still, it's very interesting, right? We can move 114 to 116 days from the recent correction we just had on December 20th, just a couple days ago. And you'll see that 114 days is April 13th, and then 116 days is April 15th. That puts April 14th in the middle. Now, funny enough, that is the same exact date Bitcoin initially topped out on back in 2021, which was the literal day Bernie Madoff died in prison. Now, some of you might know, Bernie Madoff was the best example of the failures of the Securities and Exchange Commission and their lack of having any real talent in that organization, and how most of them are probably just paid off, bribed. Now, I know that's a bold claim, but it seems to me that that was one of the most biggest fuck-ups in financial history, was not what Bernie Madoff did, but what the SEC did not catch. And when people talk badly about the Ripple situation with XRP, what happened with Ripple and XRP is not even close to what happened with Bernie Madoff. And what's funny, and kind of the ritual part to all of this, I know some people don't like when I use that word, but trust me, I'm very cautious when I use that word. I'm not just throwing it around. The ritual here is what happened after Bernie Madoff died in one of the lunar eclipses of our lunar cycle, actually the very last lunar eclipse of our lunar cycle, which was November of 2022. Let me show you on the Bitcoin chart. It's classic. Right here. It was the bottom. This was a lunar eclipse. That was when FTX went down. Sam Bankman-Fried, who was effectively the Bernie Madoff of crypto. So it's all a ritual. The energy just pours out somewhere. I find it very fascinating how Bitcoin topped on April 14th of this cycle, right here. Literally, April 14th, the day Bernie Madoff died. And then we had our own Bernie Madoff in this cycle for crypto. And it just so happened to be at the very bottom for Bitcoin. As above, so below. Anywho, I think it's pretty mind-blowing that we have this Dogecoin example showing us between April 13th to April 15th. And we do have a problem, though. Because if you follow what we're doing here, April would technically already be into our lunar cycle. And if you take every cycle peak for Dogecoin, well, January 2014, right there, January 2018, and May, specifically, May 8th, 2021, what do those all have in common is that they were always during a solar cycle and never during a lunar cycle. And as I covered already, our lunar cycle starts in March 14th, 2025. And the dates that I just gave you, if we were to measure, would put us somewhere into April. No, this lunar cycle started on the 25th of May. So we were already topped out before that. Actually, I went and did the hard work for everyone. If you look at the past two cycles for Dogecoin, it topped out around 3 weeks before the lunar cycle started, which is effectively the late February timeframe. And that aligns with what I've been anticipating specifically for altcoins regarding our initial cycle peak for this alt season, not the ultimate all-time high. Again, I cover this in my crypto decoding blueprint, but this is powerful. The fact that this flash correction we got right here matches all the confirmations that we've experienced in all past same phases for Dogecoin, and then we had both cycles measured from that flash correction to top, nearly identical time frames. And this gets us pretty damn close to the time frame that we were anticipating too. Even if it happened in March, if it happened on March 1st, what difference would it make, right? Seriously, it doesn't matter. I mean, we're really splitting hairs here. The point is not to be perfect. The point is to know that we're likely making the right choice. So, I mean, it is pretty soon. March 1st would be 71 days. Definitely sooner. And I'm not going to be dogmatic with all of this. I've laid out the details. I've laid out the dates. I've told you that it's factual that every single peak for Dogecoin was during a solar cycle and not during a lunar cycle. Does that mean that it is impossible for us to do 30 days into the lunar cycle this time? Sure. What difference does it make? But if Doge is really into price discovery by January, February, I would not be playing around. I would not be waiting and greedy. I'm just sharing my truth. I'm not trying to persuade anyone to having a different investment thesis. But I think what I just shared right here is really fascinating. So I hope you enjoyed that. And if you have any thoughts regarding this specific analysis, feel free to share what's on your radar. I would love to hear your thoughts. Now let's get over to Bitcoin and these charts and get through these altcoins. Bitcoin getting sloppy today, back testing this 1618 golden ratio. And that's important, guys, because the fib pull here is from the swing high we had in March down to the swing low we had in the August new moon flash crash. And we've hyperextended above the 1618, the golden ratio, and since have back tested it. Now, when I double click this, just to remind you, the log setting is turned on, which is fair because this is like 8 or 10 months of data now. If I was to turn it on this way, you're going to see that that was where we saw the initial chop into our first surge into price discovery. Then we started to grind to the upside over here, which to me looks very similar to this move right here. This grind to the upside, V-shape correction, arduous drawdown, and then moving higher. Now, before I was sharing this fractal that I moved, and what's crazy about it is if I was to adjust it the way that I did with this V-shape recovery kind of Thanksgiving week 2020 matching up with this week for 2024, it peaks out at the very end of January, which is like exactly what I anticipated for when Bitcoin to initially peak out. So that's actually much more in alignment with my stuff that I shared back in the crypto decoding blueprint so many months before this has gone down. And this shows about a $220,000 Bitcoin, which is a lot. Like, I'm not saying the price has to match, but the timing is pretty interesting, along with the things I explained earlier. So let's get into some more traditional TA, though. Not as much theoretical stuff right now, because that's fun and all, but we have to be honest here. This breakdown that we've had and this rejection we had on a Saturday, the reason it doesn't bug me out too much is because it happened on a Saturday. And I almost never trust shit that happens on a Saturday or Sunday here in the crypto market. It's very elusive and just, yeah, dramatic because it's only retail. And when you're broken out this high into price discovery already, you're going to get crazy drama from retail. And X runs the market right now. So all of the knowledge and information and stuff that passes into the eyes of investors is mostly happening on X.com. And I'm not calling out X.com as a bad resource. I'm just saying, like, that is what it is. Like, people don't use really much else. It's kind of solely here on X. And leverage trading stuff is crazy right now. Like, it's super unsafe. But as promised, let's bring up some moving averages and do some traditional technical analysis. First and foremost, we're looking at the EMA ribbon. And this red EMA, the 34 EMA is, yeah, we don't want to close below there. I would really like to see us get bought back up into tonight's weekly close above 96K, which, by the way, we're right there. And I believe CME closed off the week at 96K as well. So holding that would be ideal. And then we would like a recovery back above the 8 simple moving average soon, because the more this dips to the downside and the more that this 55 simple continues to rise, we do not want a wolf cross at this time with the 8 below the 55. That is not a good sign, because when it happens, we get a correction, and when it happens in the opposite direction, we rise. And this whole setup over here was beautiful, because we had the wolf cross with the 8 above the 55. We hyperextended above it, back tested it with a W pattern, and then officially broke out. That was so clean. And look at when it happened. The October solar eclipse. Who would have known? So beautiful, like how the astrology aligns with all of this too. So the energetics are powerful here. And I think Bitcoin right now, it topping out on Saturnalia is so symbolic, because remember what Saturnalia is. It's when the slaves become masters momentarily until the end of Saturnalia. So let me just pull that up real quick so you could see the dates. Last day of Saturnalia is tomorrow. Funny enough, that was kind of what happened back in 2020. Like, Bitcoin corrected through the 23rd, which is also around the solstice. Well, the solstice, is like over the past 48 hours, give or take. It's not super important. The point here is it's our darkest days, and that's what Saturnalia is sort of representing. It's the darkest days. It's like similar to like the Purge or something like that back in the ancient, Renaissance times, if you will. But one of the key things about Saturnalia is that the masters would like serve food to the slaves during dinner time, and it was just role reversal. Very interesting, Same thing goes with servants and all sorts of, maids, nannies, etc. They would kind of be given those days off, and then it got turned into what we call Christmas, the exoteric Christmas, which again is not tied to Christianity at all. It was just hijacked and given that. Anyways, I don't want to get religious here and so much into that, but I tend to do that sometimes. I just want to let you guys know as much as I possibly can about this stuff, especially if it's relevant to the exact time frame we're in now. So getting back to this slope that we're seeing on the 8 SMA, it's not dangerous, but clearly something that's showing weakness. Now, when we go over to the weekly chart, we're going to see something really important. And it's back testing the 8 simple moving average on the weekly chart. This is actually looking not so bad. So when in doubt, zoom out. Holding the 8 simple moving average is ideal during a breakout phase, because closing below it could mean trouble. So keep that in mind. If we were to start closing weeklies below 90K, yeah, that'll look weird. But if we were to do that, I think it would have to be like Black Swan type energy. And I suppose I could kind of finish up our analysis on Bitcoin with that, because there's always the possibility. But if we look over here at the last bull run, we held the 8 simple moving average all the way until April. And then again, Bernie Madoff's birthday, April 14th. We closed the candle the following week below it. Bull trap into a couple days before, a couple weeks before the start of the lunar cycle. And then we had this major correction for the lunar cycle. 55%, which, reminder, the lunar cycle starts on March 14th of 2025. So Bitcoin was already starting to dramatically correct, like the worst weeks a week before, 2 weeks before. So if we were to think about what that would mean, that would be 2 full candles before March 13th. Let me just show you kind of what it would. Yeah, like March 3rd. That would be Bitcoin already like starting to show like crazy red candle corrections. But again, let's take it one step at a time. Closing below the 8 simple moving average is not ideal right now. Holding it is powerful. You could see that right there. When we started riding it to the upside, the moment we closing below it, we stalled out and we were sideways for like 8 months. We kind of want to hold that level right now, to be 100% honest. Now, I have to say something. 100K Bitcoin is a serious psychological level to deal with. And that's why once Bitcoin made it to 100K, we started seeing all this chop and a major swing in Bitcoin dominance to the downside and now to the upside. And naturally, after things get super bullish, aka super greedy, we then have moments like we're experiencing this week. So we're getting a lot of volatility due to just like drama. And any negative article right now, anything negative in this market is pretty much out there likely for us to give our Bitcoin and our altcoins to the institutions and to the people that want to own it all. So they own it all. Like BlackRock wants to own it all. They want to own all the houses, all the property, all the fucking land. It's socialism, right? So Bitcoin is part of the agenda. All of it's part, XRP, all of it's all part of the agenda. And that's why whenever I see things like this, I don't let it startle me. I don't get fazed by it. But I get some people might say, well, easier said than done, but not really. It's about being a part of something for a long amount of time. You know, if you're brand new to this market and you just started investing 2 or 3 months ago, or even 6 months ago, it's like you can't be excellent at something in 6 months. You just can't. Like, to be a professional, you need a lot of skin in the game. You need time. And this is an incredibly volatile market that is not for the weak. It's not for those that have, light stomachs. So you can't just get here in 6 months and then expect to be amazingly profitable. But the funny thing is if you bought 2 months ago, you're probably up right now in profits. So, yeah, it's one of those times where if you didn't live through this right here, or you didn't live through this, welcome. It's gonna be crazy. I said it weeks ago. I said it before Bitcoin broke into 100K. I said it last week too. I'm gonna keep saying it until it's just boring for you guys, because you'll become desensitized to that, and then you'll be more calm. That's needed right now. Like, trust me, no emotions. Seriously, save your emotions for real life, for real people, for the real people in your life, your family, your community, etc. So I'm going to keep the TA on this pretty simple right now. I think from the daily perspective, if we start closing below the 55 simple, which is in alignment with the weekly chart 8 simple moving average, that's danger. I really don't want to see that. Although we wicked down into like 92, we wicked down over here into 91, and we wicked down over here into 90. So like that territory is not the worst of it. It's when we start closing lower candles and breaking structure. That's when I would say, yeah, this is not good. But the fact that we're doing what we're doing right now on a Sunday, it doesn't faze me as much. I gave some technical things to consider though. Like the 34 EMA closure below that today does not look good, but the fact that on the weekly we're holding the 8 simple, that looks good. From the daily perspective, I would rather hold the 55 more than anything, and if we start closing below that, that's really problematic. So like 90 to 91K, that's kind of the line in the sand, and then if we can't hold that, that could swipe down into the mid 80s fast. So if that was to be the case, I will come out with some emergency material if possible, about that. But I'm feeling right now that the shift in sentiment too dramatically it's making the weak hands show up, and the over leveraged players are getting liquidated, and new investors are capitulating. And it's just kind of, yeah, I think it's more psychological. ETH absolutely looking like just weak, right? Like topping at the same level that we saw back in March, keeling over. I think we saw the same thing with Solana. Like this weakness right here is a sign very similar to actually what happened in the last cycle too. We had over here even, let me see. $23. This is crazy. A 47% correction in December. By the way, 47% in December. Over here. This is when Bitcoin initially broke into price discovery. Had about a 30% correction there. This is in the weeks leading up. 18%. We might even be higher than that right now. Yeah, we're about 20%. So this is insanely dramatic. And this is the type of chop that ETH has been dealing with the whole time, ever since it got into the March timeframe. It's effectively been in this horizontal trading range, spending a lot of its time from 2,800 to about 4,000 flat. And then it had this phase over here, which was like the ultimate accumulation range. And I suspect if you look at the structure, how we have high, higher, high, higher, low, higher, low, higher, low. We can't really be too scared unless we saw that overall macro structure break. If that was to be the case, then of course we would have to come out here and completely redraw the map. But as of right now, this is within the horizontal trading range that we've been holding. It does not look good though. Like on ETH, it looks very weak. And actually that's what ETH looked like regarding strength. Because look, December 2020, Look at how much ETH had to go to get back to all-time highs, 140%. Well, right now, we're still 50% below all-time highs, whilst Bitcoin is already in price discovery. Look at where Bitcoin is in relation to the prior all-time highs. That's about the same weakness we saw back in 2020 for ETH. So that's actually super good. That's a confident thing for me. Now, XRP, let me see what's going on here. So XRP has had these two like shanks to this $2 area, but it's gotten bought back. That's a good sign. But yeah, the fact that we're having this bad weekend, it's not fair, and it doesn't confirm anything technical, regardless if we close in a weird way today, as especially as an altcoin, because it's just getting dragged down with Bitcoin. Yeah, although I don't like closing below the 8 simple. Let's look at the weekly. Yeah, we're hyper extended above everything. So buying the 50 cent level to where we are today is still 300% higher. The weekly does not look good, but that bi-weekly that we had is very nice. So even from a monthly perspective, this candle of 12% is not negative. It just isn't. Unless for whatever reason we get drawn down to like 192 and we close off the year at 192, this doesn't look so bad. But I'm almost certain that this is the style of move that XRP was experiencing back in 2017. Right here in this little moment. And let's time it out just for fun. About 18 days deep, we did break a little lower and it looked scary. Now it's hard to tell exactly what would be. I think we should be past 18 days, right? Oof, 19, yeah. But I mean, the other thing that's amazing about this is if we look at all the daily closes that XRP has had, we're on 3 weeks of daily closes above $3 or above $2. That is not bearish to me, because in the last cycle, we were only able to close 9 daily candles above $2. Here we've been 3 weeks, so 3 times more, almost, moving into next week. The weekly looks shitty, but the bi-weekly isn't as bad, and the monthly is really not that bad. Having this big wick to the upside is totally normal for altcoins. It would be green and a continuation candle if we have anything above 5%, not even close to a doji or a spinning top or any of that candlestick analysis you guys want to do. But the structure right here, this grind that we're getting, which back in the last cycle, I think it took 30 days for us to break out again, which would be New Year's, if I remember. Let me just quickly show you this. So from the top, yeah, like around 31 days is when we start breaking out effectively the breakout candle, which is like January 1st, January 2nd. So hang in there, guys. Like, this shouldn't be so bad. Like, I feel like we're in a rocky terrain right now and it's strange, but it's like that part of the hike where it gets really dangerous and weird, but then you're right before the view, like right before that epic view. So I'm not trying to make people feel better or anything. I get it. Like, I was here in the last cycle and I dealt with this shit too. Crazy swings. But for me, I'm not shaken out anymore. I think it's just they want us to feel pain on purpose so that we panic. Now we're going to look at Jasmy, which is a project that I did just add to my venture capital bag. It's crazy volatile project. So by no means is it a huge position in my portfolio. I have once invested in it. I'm not sure if I sold it all, but I did get rid of most of it. Just things that I was doing with my portfolio during the summertime. If I remember correctly, there were some things that I was doing in preparation for this cycle, and the fact that I knew the timing would get me into 2025, at least Q1 2025. So a lot of things that I was doing in 2023 were based on what my situation was, my investment strategy, and to just get into the long-term capital gains, to take a little bit of that tax loss harvesting during the 2023 year. It's quite a bit for me to explain, but needless to say, when it comes to venture capital, I don't get so specific about it. As long as it's around 1 to 2% of my overall portfolio and I'm aware that this stuff could definitely go to zero, then I'm not hurting if it does, you know? But then this is the kind of stuff that has major upside potential. So if we were to just make it over to this peak right here of November 2021, that'd be an 860% move. If we were to do around this level right here, which is where we have a little bit of this cascading energy before it just starts free falling, that'd be about a 3,000% move to where we are today. Now, what this means in plain English is when we clear about here, let's call it 23 cents. If Jasmy can clear 23 cents, we have thin air all the way until $1 like 30 to $1.70, and then we don't even have data after that. So this whole 400 to 500% swing right here is making me confident that that's a solid venture capital play at this time. I wouldn't wait till we're trading back up here to get invested, is what I'm trying to say. So I do sense that if Jasmy can return back to $1, which it's technically been there a little bit before, the time frame between breaking above this 23 cent to $1 could happen fast. And when I measure it based on what I typically prefer for venture capital, anything above 2,500% is a no-brainer at this stage in the cycle. Can it go down more? Sure. I'm not concerned with that. The whole goal here is to just get into stuff that's feeling very undervalued and feeling kind of like more in the shadows, and definitely charts that are like super hard to do TA on, right? Because then the only thing that's going on here is the order books, probably some FOMO, some leverage trading, and then whatever exchanges have it available globally. It's just moving with the tides. Wherever Bitcoin goes, wherever Bitcoin dominance goes, things like this are going to ride the wave. So if this goes into a real full-blown alt season, $1 is on my radar. And with that, fucking walk out of the gambling casino. I would feel like that's a major win. Very tough to do TA on this project, though, because of this chart. But I do have a fib pull from the last time I did TA on it. I'll quickly show you a couple things just for educational purposes, and then we'll move on. We have this move up into the bottom of the golden pocket plus a rejection and backtest on the 0.5 fib. That's nice to see because it was around this moment right here where we were getting some rejections, and it's clear that the 382 is a solid level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this right here and I'm going to move it to there. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it to here. And this is like the short term kind of pit stop for Jasmy. I think once we break a little bit higher than this, I'm going to adjust the fib like that. Once we break out above this yellow line again, it's likely that we'll go into an SOS phase and we'll be retesting the top at 35 cents fast. And then, like I said, anything above that, you're talking about a move up to $1 shortly after because, well, there's no data here. So it's pretty much sort of already in price discovery to the downside. As you can see, there's no structure in this chart. It just fell. It fell lower. It bottomed out, but it still hasn't broke this peak and it still hasn't broke that. So it's in price discovery to the downside, which is not good. But again, lots of money to be made in altcoin land. So it's just venture capital. Now we're looking at Audius, ticker symbol audio. I have never looked at this project. It looks like it has data going back to the end of 2020. I'm going to pull a fib here. Cool to look at a new project. I'm going to pull a fib right there. So I'm going to go ahead and double click this and turn this setting on. And you're seeing what I'm doing with the bottom fib too. I'm hitting as many touch points as possible. And on the top, I wanted to hit as many touch points as possible. So that feels like a cleaner fib to me. We recently got rejected off the 236. So in my book, this is something worth investing in if you're just one of those people that wants to ride the wave of the alt season and you're not planning on something long term. Because, I mean, think about it. Bitcoin in comparison is like already trading up here, while this thing is trading at the bear market bottom. So it's not a confidence play for a long-term hold, but for the alt season, you're looking at a chart, and there's many, but one of the charts that is heavily discounted. And to return back to these peaks of the all-time high, it's 2,000% move. So I would call this a venture capital opportunity. Again, I don't know what the hell this project is. I'm just looking at it neutrally as a technical analyst and professional trader and saying that I would rather buy something that's here than buy something that's here, especially at a time where we have like what seems like the New World Order spinning out of control, and we don't know what the hell's going to happen next with monetary policy. I mean, we could be seeing things that we've imagined to happen during the C19 timeframe be implemented in 2025, such as digital IDs and crazy global war. And that's kind of year of the snake vibe. So yeah, like you got to consider that as part of your overall investment thesis. And if you're going to play this game, you can't be banking on crazy price exploration moves on charts that look like this, you know? But it's also maybe not the best bet to be getting involved in stuff that's already trading near the 888, for instance, which would be like Solana. And again, I'm not anti-Solana. It might serve its purpose in like a SEP IRA, Roth IRA, or something long term. I'm not sure. Whatever you think is best for you. I have a little bit of Solana. But again, I think it's more in context to the overall portfolio and what you're here to accomplish. So cool chart. Now, technically, we have this level right here. I'm going to mark it out and then we'll move on. This right there is where we had this bounce, and not just any normal bounce. I mean, that's a dramatic move. That was a 500% bounce, lower high, crown top distribution. We came back to it one more time, and then this failed bull trap, which broke down. 70 cents is the next level for us to gravitate towards. And then, excuse me, we'll see how it reacts. But likely during this next major phase in the bull run, we could probably see the 888 get retested. So again, I think that would be very plausible. $2 probably before the end of March. Let's move on to Quant. Oh, yeah, this is not cool. So Quant had this major trend line and we just spiked up into it and got rejected. And not only at the trend line, these horizontal trend lines, which were way more important. So you see here, rejection. Actually, this extends all the way back, dude. Fuck. Okay, that's not good. So you see here, we broke out in a straight line, back tested, and there's your buying climax. Then we came back to this line, failed rally, broke below it. Then we got rejected twice. M pattern is bearish, broke down. Then we gravitated above it, short-lived, lower high, short-lived, rejection, another M pattern. This $150 level is like the Grim Reaper for Quant, clearly, because it just spiked into this area recently and it's had a harsh rejection since. I know this is like pretty high level TA for people at the speed that it's coming out, but like that's what these red pills are, you know? This is the way my mind works. Again, I have that crypto mastermind and I have my advanced trading course. Those teach you everything about TA. So with this holiday sale that's going on, if you want to learn a little bit more, the ways of the Jedi, consider those. I also have this crypto holistic package, which is great because it's these 3 courses, all my masterminds together, packaged in one. And when you use this promo code 30MMP, it gives you a $250 discount. So it is effectively like getting the decoding mastermind and expansion together, and then you get the crypto mastermind for free plus 5 months of your mastermind community membership on Patreon, if you wanted to look at it that way. So it's a pretty crazy discount for everything that's covered. And again, 260 video course lessons. You'll also have that new Trinity masterclass that I just added to this decoding mastermind. But this TA right here, I think, is pretty clean and simple, and we could kind of just leave it at the fact that we made it up to the golden pocket and then got rejected back to the 382 means that we're sort of still in accumulation territory for a Quant. I'm not telling you to buy this, but because again, look, a recovery back to this prior all-time high is 300%, whilst Jasmy, or the past project we just looked at, has way more opportunity. But again, our Jasmy and the project we just looked at, audio, are they long-term holds? Clearly haven't proven themselves to be. But also Quant is pretty limited in data too, although I am almost certain that this is ISO 222 compliant, so it gets a tick on the box of positives, you know? All in all, yeah, this 150 level is serious. If we can break into 175 or 180 and start closing weekly candles, I would feel good that we'd be back to the $400 level shortly after. Now I'm looking at another new project, electronemia. Well, it sounds like a disease. Electronium? What the hell? All right, so we already have problems. This is the C19 crash. Again, when Bitcoin was trading at like $4,000. We are still at the same fucking level. That's bad. That means there's been no progress in this chart for almost 5 years now. Big red flag. Also, if I was to draw a very key line across the screen, which would be here, extend it. Yeah, across the whole chart. See? So we have launch, craziness, rejection, C19 crash, got above it, traded all around it, launched off of it, pretty much came back to it. Then right here, the final test before it became the serious bear market into selling climax. Then we've just gotten rejected off of it twice. That's not good. So to be real though, like you're definitely gonna, there's an opportunity here. I'm just not sure. Like, again, you might just be over diversifying at this point, picking up a project that's pretty much trading near the C19 lows. So I don't feel good about this. I don't like investing in stuff that could come all the way back down to these levels unless I'm already, like, I'll put it like this. Like in my personal portfolio, I already have over 20 altcoins. So if you're somebody who already has 10 altcoins or more, this is not exciting. This should not be exciting. But let's just say you only have like 4 and this project you're interested in for whatever reason, because you read about the, dev team and the white paper and this, that, and the third, and you believe in the technology. And then if that's your investment thesis, then maybe it's worth putting it in your venture capital bag. But if you're somebody who has 20 different positions, having 21 positions and making this your 21st doesn't make any sense to me. If anything, I would maybe do like the Jasmy play, maybe. Because again, like from where we're at here to prior all-time highs, although like they are quite similar in the range of extremes, this trading around the C19 levels, it's really not gonna be, I don't think, the most lucrative unless you really know how to trade, unless you're ready to get rid of it all very soon after it rises a lot. And then again, that's on you. And I'm not saying that it's impossible. The 888 fib is probably in the cards for this one. I definitely don't think this is going into price discovery. I don't want to be absolute here because, again, anything's possible in the matrix, but I would have a hard time believing this makes it up to 4 cents or 5 cents. Be strange. But into this range right here where it got rejected on the bull trap around 3 cents max, sure. And then still, it's pretty amazing. It's almost 1,000%. Just, I feel like there's probably some other opportunities out there with better looking charts. Now let's wrap this up with Tezos. Wow, Tezos is even at the God. Oh my. Wow, like literally the C19 crash, Tezos is trading at that same level. That's it right there. So it's went as low as like the bear market from 2018. Holy fuck. Yeah, this ain't good. Okay, yeah, okay, I'll keep it simple. It needs to get above the 382. It's struggling there. Clear level. It's having a crisis with. We return back to it. Lots of chop, rejection. We'll call it twice, and this was your 3rd time's a charm. Backtest the 236. That's at least positive. So, yeah, I mean, there is a play here, but I wouldn't vote on this one personally. It's a disgusting chart. Yeah, not too much to say about this because it's kind of in alignment with what we just looked at, the Electroneum situation, like almost even worse because I don't even think Electroneum traded lower than the C19 crash. But like to give you guys some context, Bitcoin at the absolute low of the C19 crash was like $3,200. Okay, $3,200. This thing went an additional 50% lower. That would be like if Bitcoin went down to $1,500 this August. Bitcoin was 50,000 in August. So like, yeah, when Bitcoin is outperforming this much, then like this is absolutely a distraction and a horrible project to invest in long term, obviously. I mean, just look at the chart. This was back in 2018 and we've went down to similar levels back in 2018. So again, I'm not trying to talk shit right now. This is the Red Pill podcast. You are here to take the red pill. We're all grown up boys and, adults here, I should say. We're all adults here, and it's important to realize that this is just, honesty. So I hope you appreciate it. I think out of the projects we looked at, this Audius is kind of interesting, I suppose, although not the most pretty chart. I do think Jasmy is going to be a good play for me. I could be wrong, but I do feel it's likely to be something that rises with the alt season. If you take from January, the yearly gains so far have been about 600%. So I think that alone is pretty solid. If you bought on New Year's and you just hold until the next New Year, then we're not even into the parabolic phase of the bull run for altcoins. So I feel good about that play. Quant, I also feel good about. I just don't know if the ROI is there. I also don't think that 2025 necessarily will be this crazy, as regulated as you might think, although the end of 2024 could very well be, but we'll see, because I think March and April still have room for chaos, right? As I've shared in the past, start of the lunar cycle is rough. Okay, yeah, I'm going to end this one here. Again, I appreciate every single one of you. What a podcast this was, the Christmas special. Again, over at watersabove.com/store, I have my holiday sale going. Really grateful for all of your support. All you got to do is use the promo code in the pinned comment below, and it'll give you the biggest discount available, even bigger than the one that's available on YouTube right now. And then do me a favor and make sure that you have taken this action over here between Patreon connecting to Discord before the next 36 hours. So I hope you did it at the very beginning. And until then, appreciate every single one of you. Wishing you all a beautiful rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.